People often say that there's no way to measure greatness, but you always have some expectations. No list of athletes can be complete without him. He's huge and talented, and yes, you guessed it right, we're talking about the gentle giant himself, Shaquille O'Neal. It should not come as a surprise that certain rule adjustments were made to end the supremacy of the big man in the NBA because he is one of the best and most dominant big men of all time. The regulation that penalized teams for using a zone defense that may assist contain an athletic big man or wing player was eliminated, which was the biggest alteration. Despite conceding the zone's impact on the then Lakers center Phil Jackson, Shaq's coach at the time was in support of the move to enable it, telling the New York Times in 2001, "I'm fully okay with the zone. Shaq will be hurt, but it still needs to be a part of the game." After Shaq, the next person is the fearless, the ruthless, the backboard glass breaker himself, Darryl Dawkins. Due to his tremendously potent dunks, the colorful character known as Chocolate Thunder triggered one of the most astounding regulation revisions. After a dunk in the 1979 season, Dawkins, who was then playing for the 76ers, broke the backboard glass. Just a few weeks later, he repeated the offense, prompting the NBA to declare that shattering the backboard glass was now prohibited and that the guilty player would be punished with both a fine and a suspension. The NBA was effectively ordering Dawkins to quit dunking so forcefully by enforcing that regulation. To make sure that Dr. Duncanstein, or Planet Lovetron, could not smash any more backboards, the NBA eventually started utilizing breakaway rims. In a 2004 New York Times story, Dawkins described both occurrences in detail, stating, "The first one was an accident, but I wanted to check whether I could do it again when I came back to Philadelphia." He brought it down because everyone was yelling at him, "You've got to do one for the home crowd." Everyone was amazed. Running outside, fans were ripping the glass. People's hands were bleeding. He got the impression that he was accomplishing something that only he could do. Switching to golf, this next person is known as the king of the game. The name that everyone fears, it's none other than Tiger Woods.
Straight up. Oh, yeah, look at this, Peter. Look at this shot. Look at this. Might go in. Might go in. Might go in. It is in. He couldn't chip it in.
Given his current struggles, it may seem like a lifetime ago, but Tiger Woods dominated the game of golf, to the point where the Augusta National Masters Committee was forced to make significant changes to the course. This happened after his dominant performance in 1997 and 2001, the latter of which saw Woods lap the field en route to a 12-stroke victory.
Come back down real quick. Oh, yeah, Tiger.
In order to tiger-proof the course, additional yardage was added. Trees were planted along several fairways. The fairways were made narrower, and the rough was allowed to become overgrown. Although Woods has won the Masters twice since the modifications, players on the PGA Tour have flatly stated that the so-called tiger-proofing has merely made the course more difficult for everyone. In 2011, Jim Furyk commented on the modifications, saying, "Quite honestly, it's not a nice golf course to play right now. It's challenging. It puts a lot of mental and physical strain on you. Instead of going out in a blaze of glory, shooting at pins and making a birdie or a bogey, it feels more like a US Open type of struggle." The ice hockey champ who has won the Stanley Cup not once, not twice, but thrice is next on the list. Martin Brodeur. During his time in the NFL, Brodeur's outstanding stick-handling skills allowed him to act as a type of third defenseman. But the league put an end to it in 2005 by restricting the area in which the goaltender is permitted to touch the puck. The space behind the goal, where the goalie could handle the puck outside of the goal, was marked by a trapezoid by the league. When the rule change was revealed, Brodeur wasn't too happy about it, telling the New York Times in 2005, "You can't be happy. Taking away something I've worked on all my life to do and assist my teammates and help my defense. Playing the puck is simply a part of who I am. You can't be happy, that much is certain." The NHL simply wants to showcase the skill for their supporters, among other things, and he didn't think this accomplished that. To him, it seemed to work the opposite way around. It's like taking a man's skill away. Many players lack the ability to handle the puck, but it has no bearing on them. The champion of defense, the person whose defense was impossible to break, and the name that sends shivers down the spine of every basketball player is next. George Mikan. Due to his size and talent, Mikan, one of the first real big men to play professional basketball, inspired a number of rule revisions. The NCAA banned goaltending after Mikan repeatedly positioned himself in the middle of a zone defense as a student at DePaul University to block shots before they reached the rim. The lane had to be widened from 6 feet to 12 feet once Mikan entered the professional ranks in order to prevent him from posting up so close to the basket. This wasn't the only rule modification Mikan's dominance would bring about. His scoring production was ultimately reduced by the rule changes, but he was still one of the greatest players in the history of the sport and was eventually elected into the Basketball Hall of Fame in 1959. Coming back to ice hockey, this next person is undoubtedly the #1 name in the game, and someone who has tremendous contributions to the NHL. Wayne Gretzky. In 4-on-4 and 3-on-3 scenarios, Wayne Gretzky and his Oilers teammates were so skilled at taking advantage of the wide ice that the NHL changed the rules so that teams would continue to play at full strength after offsetting penalties. The so-called Gretzky rule received harsh criticism and was quickly abandoned by the league before the 1992-93 season. Following the implementation of the regulation, Gretzky was so incensed that he called a press conference to criticize the NHL for punishing players like himself by enforcing the rule change. This next champ's might and power scared every player coming face-to-face with him. In case you haven't guessed it already, I'm talking about Wilt Chamberlain. This lad, like Mikan before, was a dominant big man who spurred a number of rule changes. For example, the NBA widened the lane once more as a result of Chamberlain's incredible physical prowess. The prohibition of a free throw shooter crossing the foul line before the ball touches the hoop was one of the laws he influenced. This was because Chamberlain could easily jump from behind the line to either lay the ball in from close range or slam the ball. One of Chamberlain's few flaws would result from the rule change, as the famous big man's career free throw percentage was just 51% as a result. The last player on this list rose to fame as the champ Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, one of the biggest names in basketball to this day. You might not know this, but he's actually known as Lou Alcindor. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was formerly named Lou Alcindor. He was the top player on the most dominant team in NCAA history during his time at UCLA.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the best NBA player ever because Kareem has arguably the greatest resume in NBA history and had the most unguardable offensive move ever.
Prior to the 1967-68 season, the NCAA outlawed dunks because Alcindor could tower over opponents and do so with ease. Alcindor is confident that he served as the motivation for the ban on dunking, which may seem absolutely absurd, but actually held up until the 1976-77 season. In any case, John Wooden, the esteemed UCLA coach, anticipated that Alcindor would benefit from the rule change, and he was proven to be correct. Which one of these rule changes did you already know about? Drop your response in the comments, and thanks for watching.